Am I going now?
Yes, go.
I don't know. When do we start?
We on?
I'm confused.
Okay. All right.
Hi, I'm Ken without my medication.
And we are 25 minutes late, but we
But
are
we're
on
here.
the air. That's
We
right.
are here. That's all that
Absolutely.
matters. We had a little bit of a rough start, didn't we?
Definitely.
This is what happens when the government tells us we should change our times.
That's
But a
right.
computer says it's not your time yet.
That's right. Absolutely.
So we apologize for our
So
late
we hope
start.
you didn't go away. We hope you're here to join us. And we had a great show tonight. We're going to be continuing.
Well, wait.
What? Okay.
Hi, I'm Ken.
I'm John.
And we're?
All about tools.
So at least you know where you belong.
We had
Okay,
a great show tonight.
we do. We're going to. We're actually following up from last week's show, where we talked about bowls and we talked about different styles of bowls and types. We talked about
Water bowls and
what kind of bowls?
smoking bowls and all kinds of
No, that was another program you
Oh,
do. That
okay,
didn't
all
involve
right.
me.
Okay,
we
all
were
right.
talking about bowls you mount under your counter.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, yeah. That's
Right.
so. If you're with the DEA, please disregard that earlier comment. But we talked about solid surface bowls, vitreous china, stainless steel, cast iron, and we actually during the week mounted some bowls so we could talk about the next step, which is beginning to finish the bowls once you've assembled them.
Right.
We're concentrating primarily on solid surface bowls tonight. So we're really excited about the show and getting to show you more things about this whole process in the world of solid surface.
Right.
But before we plunge into this, we had some questions
Before
from
we
last
plunge
week.
into this.
You like that, huh?
Oh,
A
man.
little bit of a segue there. But
Okay.
we had some questions last week, and one of them was, and you can if you can point out who said the question, I'll
It
point
was
out the
Bob
question.
from Omaha, Nebraska.
And Bob wants to know, is there much of a difference between solid surface bowls? There are actually some difference. There are some bowls out there that are all acrylic, which are sometimes cast and sometimes thermoformed.
Right.
And probably the vast majority of bowls are the old standby of polyester and acrylic blended together.
Right. There's also a fiberglass bowl with a skin of solid surface, is there not?
Correct. That is
Okay.
correct. It's made by a company out of South Africa. And John's right. It's a thin piece of veneered
I
form.
think actually the bowl that we're
acrylic.
showing tonight in here is actually that bowl.
That is actually it. You're right.
But you can't see it.
And but it's a thin veneer of solid surface, a little greater than 1/8 of an inch perhaps, and then it's all backed by fiberglass, which gives it a great deal of strength and resiliency. So there are different types of certainly fiberglass or solid surface products out there in bowl form. For the most part, they'll perform very much the same. So I don't think it's a fear somebody really needs to have.
Right.
If you are mounting a matching bowl, however, let's say you're working with an all-acrylic product, you really want to make sure you use an all-acrylic bowl because there will be a color shift in some polyester products. So if I were working with a polyester hybrid, I would mount a like bowl to it. If I were working with an acrylic, I would mount an acrylic bowl to it.
Okay.
If I weren't doing a matching color, then it's unimportant.
Does it matter what adhesive you use to glue up any of those bowls?
I wouldn't use silicone.
Right.
No, I would use joint. If you're using joint adhesive intended for solid surface, it's
Well,
going to...
that's just spit.
Yeah, it's going to do the job for you fairly well. Again, John does another program that I'm not involved in. So anyway, there was that question. And then the next question was by whom?
This is from Robert in Seattle, Washington.
You do that very well.
I do.
Robert.
I'm having a problem seeing it.
That's because you haven't got your glasses on. Robert wants to know on the sink clips if, and I'll let you answer this one. Well, no, I better answer it. On the difference between the peel and stick and the epoxied on waffle clips.
Right.
Essentially, when they're both bonded, they're going to do fairly well. A couple of differences with the peel and stick is a peel and stick, because it has a pad between the metal and the solid surface, or quartz or stone, whichever application you use it for, it has a little better shock resistance.
Right.
It's
Pretty thin layer,
the
though.
pad,
It does have
but
some
it
shock
does
resistance.
allow it some elasticity, which is beneficial because of the dynamic nature of the sink area. Although your primary bond is still the silicone.
Right.
So in that regard, I don't think you're going to have a lot of issues. So I guess it's a bit of a question of preference whether you want to use an epoxy and the waffle. Now, if you do use the studded waffle pads, we highly recommend you don't use joint adhesive because it's very rigid.
Right.
And because it's rigid, it has a greater degree of brittleness, and you might lose the waffle pad.
Right. And it may be sometime down the road when actually the silicone itself fails, because the pads would be broken away. It's not going to just fall out.
No, it's not going to do that. And then, of course, another benefit to the peel and stick is its use is almost instantaneous. Because the peel and stick, it's actually an acrylic adhesive.
Right.
And it actually, as time passes, it cures itself more and more. So even though we were able to bend that clip up after only just 2 minutes of it being stuck, I was able to pry the pad up later on.
And that's actually what Richard from Rochester wanted to know, if we actually prepped that thing, and was it real?
Was it real?
You know, and I had a guy.
I wonder that sometimes. Is it real?
Is it real? Yes.
Is the but certainly that bond, it is good enough in 2 minutes to be able to withstand the pressure applied. Pardon me?
To pull it up with a claw, which is not.
Yes,
pull it up
with a
claw
hammer.
right?
And you can
really
go
well.
back and watch last week's show and see that if you're curious about that test that we did. But again, that will only grow stronger with time.
That's right.
So it is an excellent process. The other thing, too, again, just to remind you, because of the size of the pad, it's a great way to index your sink. So if you locate your sink, then put down those pads and abut it right to the rim of the sink, you can remove the sink
Right.
then, wash it,
silicone
put
on
down
it.
your silicone and put it
Right.
right back, and it'll place the bowl exactly. But you got to be dead nuts on, because if not, then there's no moving that bowl.
That's right.
So
Let's get on to what we're doing tonight.
So those are the
Enough
last
for
last thing.
What's all this stuff? This looks
Well,
cool.
yeah, we got all kinds of cool stuff. One thing I want to take just a moment to talk about first, because I'm really excited about it, is one of our sponsors, which is SpecialtyTools.com, came up with a great new product. I'm going to let you talk about it for a minute.
These are bowl savers. Now, sink bowl savers. I should
Okay.
say. Okay. And actually, what these do, they're pretty cool. It's really a neat little device. One of the problems you have when you're cutting out a sink bowl, especially if you're doing it alone, is that when you make that final cut, it's going to drop down into the bowl, unless you've anchored it somehow or whatever. With this little device, you just drop it down into where you've already made a cut, and then just slide it to a corner and just leave it there. And as you go around, you'll stop and put another one in this corner, and then we'll show you, we've already started doing this one obviously, but we'll finish this cut and show you, hopefully, that when we finish this cut, that it's going to just sit there. And then you'll be able to lift it out.
Okay, and these are made out of...
They're phenolic,
Okay.
which is very durable. They're not, they're not unbreakable, but they're very strong. And it's the same thing that the template material is made out of, which is also very common now. And they don't...
You're talking about the perfect
Perfect
seam,
seam
perfect edge,
templates,
yeah.
right.
Yep.
And most of the templates that are sold by Specialty Tools are also made out of that material.
So phenolic, it's a very durable material. How many of those do you would you suspect you need for a cutout?
Well, we're going to try using 2. You may need 3 or 4. I don't know. We're going to find out tonight. But we only have 2.
Okay.
So we're going to see where it goes.
You're not helping me on this, are you? You're just
No.
killing me.
Well, okay, what do you want me to say?
No. They are,
You
again...
need 9 of these, and there's...
That's my thinking, actually. That's my thinking exactly. But it's a simple tool to use, because the great thing about this is you're making your cutout. A couple of the features about it. One, it's got a nice firm hand grip portion, which you need because you're going to turn this like a key. It's got a button built right into the bottom arm.
Oh, so you're telling all the stuff.
Well, yeah, because
Okay.
I want people to realize how well engineered these are.
Okay.
This button actually creates the pressure that it helps really to grab onto the material.
Right.
This is made of a 3/8 wide phenolic, which gives you plenty of room to drop it in, even if you're only using a half-inch cut
inch,
bit.
right.
You've
Yes.
still got room to drop it in. You can bring it right on the deck, take and twist it right into the corner like that, and bang, it's locking it and holding it.
You going to finish cutting this out?
Yeah, let's
I'm
see what it
excited. I
does.
want to see if they're going to work. Let me get my safety gear on here.
I'm going to go into the other room while you do this.
I can't hear a thing. Are we all set?
I don't know. I can't even get it plugged in. There you go.
Is the table plugged in? Yep. I'll wait till that stops before I remove it.
There you go. All right. And as you can see, these are supporting it fully, and it allows me to lift it right out.
Look at that. How cool is that?
So it prevents the cutout from dropping down into the bowl and potentially damaging it.
Right.
It makes it very safe to cut and run your router because you're not worried about trying to support this in any way.
Right.
One of the keys we saw was actually running the router at full speed.
That's right.
Made it work much better.
That's right. We actually had it slowed down for a test of a segment we're going to do later. But you know what? We got to get back to something here. We completely forgot.
Shall we take this out?
Sure, go ahead. Why not?
We'll go
Look
ahead
at that.
and put it right there.
That's great. We need to talk a little bit about the router bits. And let me go ahead and unplug this.
Safety first.
Safety first, exactly. These bits are manufactured by Velopec, and they're up in New York. And actually, we talked about Velopec in the past, and remember I walked off the show because I laughed so hard?
Oh, was that time?
That was that episode. So
okay.
If you didn't see that one, check that one in the archives because that was pretty cool. But anyway, Fred Velopec Sr. Worked closely with DuPont Corian when Corian first came out, and they developed a series of router bits to make different cutouts and bowl passes and what have you. And what they've got, and I forgive me because I don't know exactly what the material is. If this is Teflon now? It used to be Delrin. It's not anymore. I'm not sure what it's made of, but it's a plastic material. And this is encased over the bearing. So what's happening is this nylon bearing is riding on the edge of the bowl, so there's no chance of
scarring the bowl or bruising it in some way.
And these are specially designed bits in that they're radiused on the bottom and they're flat, and they're actually, there's no nut protruding on the bottom. And the reason for that is so that these can go over these shallow passes in the bowl, and also where there's the raised area for the sink faucets as well. And they make a full line of bits. We're going to be showing you a bowl bit, which is a radius bowl bit, and they have different degrees of angles for different purposes. And I know that you wanted to talk a little bit about the degrees of angles and what those do. Are we going to do that now?
Well, let's. We can certainly finish talking about this.
Because I know I always don't. I don't always say all that I'm supposed to say.
But that's right. You try very hard, though, and we've come to respect that.
And we did lube this up before we started, by the way.
Oh, you did lube it up?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Oh, actually, I used this. Is that okay?
No, you should never use that.
Why?
And I'm glad that John's talking about this. Though this is an excellent lubricant, and probably everybody has it in their shop, and they use it for all kinds of things, the problem with using this type of lubricant is twofold. One, it is a wet lubricant. And
well, this is wet.
But that dries.
That doesn't?
Not really.
Okay.
It's oily.
All right.
It's oily.
Very good.
The problem is what happens is you have ball bearings in here, and of course that's what obviously makes the bearing move, is the ball bearings.
Right.
The object is to keep it lubricated so they spin freely, but also to lubricate them with a kind of a quasi-dry lubricant, something that goes in wet, spreads, films, and then dries. And the reason why it's important that it dries is that if it's wet, especially a dust that is as fine as solid surface, which everybody's familiar with, but sawdust can be certainly included in that category, can sometimes work their way in there. If it's a wet lubricant, it's going to hold that, which it can cause a ball to freeze in its rotation.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it does. Well, you know what it does? If your ball freezes up, it heats up immediately, and then you cook your bearings.
Okay.
And then your balls are going to fall out, and that's a drag.
That's right.
So the benefit to using a lubricant like this is...
Could you free those frozen balls up with this?
Only shortly.
Okay.
Only for a short period. The important thing about a lubricant such as this is it is a high temperature lubricant, so it's made to withstand high temperature so it doesn't burn itself right off.
Okay.
It is dry, and being that it's a dry lubricant, the benefit to that is you're not going to get dust drawn and clinging to the what it is you're trying to lubricate, and that's important in its performance. Another thing that's really important is when you lubricate bearings, the best time to do it is right when you're through using it. So in this case, if I'd use this tool, as soon as I was done, I would take my air line, I would blow the bearing out, lubricate it at that point, spin my bearing a few times to make sure it's in there and everything's moving fine, and then put the tool away, and it will be 100% ready for the next time I use it.
It'll be totally dry.
It'll be dry, and also, even if I don't use this bit, let's say for a month,
It's
as
protected.
well as it's protected.
Okay. So it's
exactly.
protected
So
against rust or anything else.
and that's very important because it's going to extend the life of a bearing. And a bearing, I'll be the first to admit, it's a bit of a crapshoot.
Oh,
You
look
don't,
at this. We have our dog on the stage.
Woof.
I guess
So you don't,
he's just going to kind of hang out there a minute.
So as long, to keep the bearing life as extended as long as possible, we want to make sure that it's clean and well lubricated.
Okay.
So that's important. Now, this particular bit that we've used here is a 2-flute bit.
Okay.
Okay. There's another style of bit that is used for rough cutting, which is called a stagger tooth.
That's right.
And that's more common in the Deep South. You got a half a tooth on each side. I couldn't resist that. I shouldn't have said that. I probably lost some people with that one. But anyway,
come on. You know, my grandmother's not going to watch anymore.
But no, there's a stagger tooth bit, and the idea behind that, instead of having 2 flutes that are constantly in contact and cutting,
right,
which obviously creates more drag and slows your cut. This is not a finished cut by any design. So a stagger tooth bit, by putting a half a flute on either side, 1 flute on the high side on one side, 1 flute on the low side on the other, the benefit is you're essentially cutting with a single flute bit, which will provide a faster cut.
I noticed that this bearing is wider than the bit.
Is it?
Is that on purpose?
Oh man, somebody screwed up. No, they did that because what we were left with, if you actually look here, is a slight overhang.
Okay.
All right. But the reason why it's better to do this than to make a hole like that and try to plunge a bowl roundover bit in is because if we were making a cut like that would have cut all this out with a bit that large, it would put extreme stress on the tool, the bit, the bearings, everything. By taking and making a cut like this, which leaves just about 1/8 of an inch of overhang, when we go back with the next router cut, we'll get a much cleaner bit. Now, some guys would still do those in maybe 2 passes. Other guys will do it in 1.
Now, the next router bit pass that we're going to make is actually a bowl roundover bit. Now, this could be done with a bevel bit, and you would leave just a straight bevel on the edge, or you can do this with a what's called a full roundover bit. So we're going to come up on an angle, and we're going to round over on top of it. But these are also on a degree of angle. Can you tell us why?
Sure.
Mr. Wizard?
Mr. Wizard. Also, just to toss this out real quick, we have no idea how the segments are running time-wise because we started at an odd time. So if you can tell us...
We started at 25 after, so we're going to... We got 5 minutes?
18 minutes and
18 minutes. Okay, we've got a couple minutes.
Okay, so yeah, we're just about through with this segment. But very briefly, this is a bowl roundover bit. Again, made by the same company, by Velopec. You see very much the same style of bearing here on top. These bits vary quite a bit from bowl to bowl, and that's something that you really have to pay attention to when you're finishing solid surface. And I think are we pretty close to a commercial? Should we wait, or should we run it?
It's 18 minutes. Yeah. We have a commercial ready? Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go ahead. We'll go to our commercial.
Right.
And when we come back in the second segment, we'll explain these bits, why they're made the way they are, and how to use them. And
we'll be right back.
We'll have fun.
Very good. Okay, great. It is an exciting new product. We're really excited about it, obviously. These are radius molds for forming solid surface. What we can do is Ken is Ken is going to stick that in the mold here real quick. We're using a Festool router, slow speed, and we're going to just form this. Okay, and that forms it into a perfect 1.5 inch inside radius, 2 inch outside radius. The reason that we designed them this way is because if you're using the perfect seam setup, you'll be able to route your inside corner with the perfect seam edges, and it's a perfect fit.
Yep.
What we've got is we've got a specially designed base for the router. This is a surface leveler, and it'll be adjusted to take off this material. Now, it doesn't have to be flush because all we're actually doing is cutting it off flat with the surface so it's ready to glue up underneath. And this is a carbide-tipped up-down spiral.
Correct.
Which
it's a
nobody
compression
makes.
spiral.
I mean, this is unique in that it is carbide-tipped and it's not a solid carbide. So it's a lot less expensive than a solid carbide router bit. So this is unique. It's got a bottom bearing bit. Now, we've set it so that it's actually riding on the bottom edge of this little fixture that we've built. And what you're going to have, and I don't have my vacuum hooked up, but I'm just going to go ahead and route. Okay, so now what that's done is it's cut it off perpendicular. So you end up with a piece that is perfect every time. And what's nice about this is these are always the same size. So when you're calculating the top, you can pre-manufacture all these and you know what length your pieces are in between. So that's pretty cool. And then to take it out of the mold, you just back it up, just like that. Take it out of the mold. And as you can see, we've got the mold is actually several pieces. There's a base that you get, and then these are double stacked molds. Now, let's say we had to do a 4-inch drop edge. What you could actually do is buy extras of this particular mold, stack them on top. These are all screwed together, so you could stack them up, screw them back together, and you could actually have them 4 inches high.
By just merely adding to this and building it up to whatever thickness it needs to be, and these are available in half-inch increments after the initial 1-inch buy.
Right, yeah. The starter kit would include this base that you route against, and then 2 mold thicknesses. The reason we did it in half-inch increments is it's a lot less expensive to manufacture 2 half-inch molds than 1 1-inch mold, just because of the cutters involved in cutting 1-inch material and what have you. So we decided to go this way with it, and when you buy it, you would get, the starter kit would be this clamp, which we're having made for us, which is really cool. The molds, male and female mold, and the starter kit is, I believe, a 1-inch and an 1.5 inches, because that's pretty much the standard. It takes a lot of the work out of something that is a very tedious project.
It is.
And you won't have to buy a big oven to do this. A lot of guys don't want to do forming. They don't want to spend the money for a big oven, so they'll be able to buy this little cube oven, which is really cool.
$6.99, I believe?
I think it's going to be $6.99. And maybe we'll put a package together on the oven and a starter kit. We'll take a look at doing something like that. But
so you could get into a drop edge application very inexpensively. And the great thing about it, and this is really what you have to look at, is the speed in which this can be done.